Welcome back to the First Reviews channel. I'm Gal Balaban here, and I'm really excited to be sitting talking with Kyle Hausmann-Stokes, the writer and director of my Dead Friend Zoe.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Of course, as you know, I'm really excited to be talking about this film. It's one of my favorites of the year so far. It's a movie I just really loved. And I wanted to start by talking about I've heard you mention that you set out to make this movie from a very personal place. Your
Yeah.
mission with this film was to save lives. And, a lot of the times in films, you mentioned that films, surrounding the veteran experience just haven't quite gotten it right. Can you elaborate more on the stigmas or negative stereotypes you set out to break that have, been problematic in past veteran films in Hollywood?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes say that I feel like we veterans don't get nice things when it comes to films and TV shows, just because it's so easy to stereotype. I think specifically like the archetype of a soldier, but then the aftermath of that, which is a veteran, and that's something that you don't see in Gladiator or samurai warriors. We're not really looking to those stories for like what happens to the soldiers after that. But now modern day films, like it very much is kind of a thing, but we are either that super soldier, samurai, um, Spartan gladiator, or nowadays we're broken and drunk and on medication and angry and that describes some veterans, but definitely not all of us by a large majority. So yeah, I wanted to make a film that was more about people that happen to be veterans. My Dead Friend Zoe is about a friendship, it's about a family, and these people happen to be vets, but that is not the most interesting thing about them. And yeah, I think we need more films like that in the world. So you know what they say about filmmaking: if it doesn't exist, sometimes you have to go out there and try to make it yourself. So that's what it was.
Another thing this movie is strongly about is courage, especially through the lens of Merritt, played wonderfully, should I mention, by Sonequa
Yeah,
Martin-Green.
she's
She's
amazing. Yeah.
suppressing so much, but she ends up losing her strength and only finding her courage through opening up and actually facing her trauma. And I want to, I guess, hear more from you. When was a defining moment for you to find the courage to tell your story through my dead friend Zoe?
It's a great question. Thank you for that. I mean, yes, so this film is autobiographical. I say it's 93% true. Um, I changed some things, as people will see. But for the most part, everything in here is true, and it describes my post. I was in the army, I was in Iraq, I've really been all the things that Merritt experiences in the films are things that I just kind of transcribed from my own life. And so I think for me, it was actually a Vietnam veteran that I think first maybe pointed my head in the right direction, almost by force, almost by grabbing me by the scruff of my
Mm-hmm.
neck. And it was in the lobby of a VA. I was sitting outside a therapist appointment that I didn't want to be there. Screw talk therapy, where I'm a paratrooper, combat vet. We don't do that crap, and
Yeah.
but I was there, because on the strong urging of my mother, who was, I think, concerned about me. I was a student at school. I thought I was fine. Um, but yeah, it was a Vietnam vet that saw that I probably wasn't, and really shifted my paradigm in that moment. And I think that was kind of the beginning. And this is when I was a young film student post-Iraq at USC. And from there, I've just, I don't know, I've been able to like tap into those feelings and what I was going through, but then also experience the other side of it, which is talk therapy and talking about our feelings and things that we've been through. Like that's how we regain control over them. And that's what this film is about. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was a long journey to get to make My Dead Friend Zoe. I mean, I would have loved to have made it right out of film school, but in reality, it took over a decade. And then, I mean, the more specific answer is like COVID. Once COVID happened, I spent about 10 years telling other people's stories, other veterans' stories, maybe hiding behind other people's stories. And it was COVID, when we were all kind of locked away, that I maybe either found the courage, to your point, or just had nowhere else to run. And that's when I really started to put pen to paper and say, okay, I guess maybe now I'll try telling my own story, which ended up being this film.
That's really wonderful. And speaking of the journey, when did you decide that, I guess, balancing out all the heavy with the great comedic elements, making it not just a drama, but, they say dramedy was not only possible, but necessary for this film?
From the very beginning. I mean, there was three things I knew about this film before I knew anything else. The first thing was the title, My Dead Friend Zoe. The second thing is that it had to feature women, even though I'm not a woman, but and it's based on my story, and I can talk about why that was also. But the third thing was that it has to be funny, that it had to be funny, for a couple reasons. One has to do with Judd Apatow and a call that he called me. The other just has to do with we vets, we're funny, dude. We're funny. The military, like you've never
Hmm.
laughed so hard in your whole life at some of the most messed up things, downrange, in combat. It really is the gamut of emotions, and you just don't really see that in film too often. And we have a dark sense of humor. I think a lot of people do, actually. And so I knew that the film had to be, as Sonequa says, it had to be sugar with the medicine. And I guess Judd Apatow, I used to work for his manager, and at one point he had asked me, "Are you guys funny?" Talking about us veterans, and I said, "Yeah, man, we're funny." And he's like, "Well, do you have a script about that?" And I didn't then. It took me a while, but I did eventually. So thanks to Judd for that.
While we're on that, the perspective of female veterans is, I think, one of the barriers this film breaks because a lot of the time with veterans and coming home from war, we do see it from more of a male veteran perspective, even
Totally.
though, their stories just haven't been told as much yet. Can you talk more about that decision early on to make the main characters women?
Absolutely. So, prior to making this film, kind of after I got back from Iraq, I went to film school after I graduated. I spent the next 10 years of my career, of my life, dedicated to telling veteran stories and military stories. And I got hired to produce and direct this big national campaign for the VA, Department of Veterans Affairs. And we spent 4 years spanning the country. I would travel to a different city every month with a camera crew, and we would shoot these beautiful interviews, long form interviews with veterans of all shape, size, color, age, and half of them were women. And I never served alongside women because I was in the infantry, and at that time in the military, boys and girls couldn't be in that same job position. That has since changed for the better. Um, so it wasn't until I was a veteran that I sat across from hundreds of women, veterans, heard their stories, totally blown away, completely captivated and blown away by that they had been through all the same things that men had been through and then some. And I think in that moment, I just decided to myself, if I get the opportunity to tell my story, it'll be mine, but it'll be other people's too. Um, so yeah, that was the decision.
So when Sonequa came on board on the film, what were, I guess, some of the conversations about, I guess, the weight of that story to you and to the character she was playing, and what was, I guess, the most important thing that she brought to Merit that wasn't already in the script or in your vision before?
Sorry, you got a dog participating here now. Um,
So sweet.
Yeah, Sonequa is just an ocean of depth, and I think people will see that, especially when they see this film. I mean, I think the world knows her from The Walking Dead and from Star Trek Discovery, but I don't know, man. I'm pretty. I guess I'd sound like a proud parent in a sense, but like I don't think the world has seen Sonequa like this before. And Sonequa brought a gravitas and a depth and just like a I don't know, man. You can just feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. And she would study me, the way that I would run, the way that I would talk, um, she was just such a sponge, and she took it so seriously. And I mean that in in the most positive way. And personally, Sonequa is like just I always call her just like sunlight, sunshine in a human being. She's the most upbeat, delightful, positive person, but she does not mess around when it comes to this kind of stuff. And so she just brought I don't know, man. Yeah, she just brought like a relatability, but just like this like I said, just a depth. I think with acting especially, you want to see stuff going on beneath the surface and subterranean and Sonequa. she's that all day long. I'm really excited for people to see her in this.
Yeah, there's no better description. I think she's so wonderful in this movie, and of course, one of the most important parts is her scenes with Natalie Morales
Yeah.
as Zoe, but mostly her, I guess, communications with her vision of Zoe, who I feel in some ways represents all the things that she wants to say, but doesn't
Yes.
feel like she can quite emulate. And I love the editing that's like, I guess, weaving Natalie in and out of those scenes, even when it's her and Ed or her, on FaceTime with her mother. Can you talk a little bit about what were some of the differences between Zoe, the real Zoe in the film, and Zoe the way Merritt sees her in her head?
Gal, that's a great question, man. Your questions are great. Thank you also
Thank you
for
so
calling
much.
out the editing too. I mean, yeah, worked very hard at that, and it's more of like worked very hard to do a subtle thing that felt invisible unless you're kind of looking for it. Where sometimes Zoe's there, sometimes she's not, but we're not going to we didn't make a meal out of it. The gimmick of the movie is not, oh, some zany ghost and where is she, where isn't she? It's like, I don't know, she's kind of there, she's kind of not. I remember people were so concerned about like, oh my God, can Zoe touch things? Can she move the world? I was like, yeah, I think she can. Why not? And it works. It's totally fine. It's not what the movie's about. And you would almost have to ask Natalie that question, although I have heard her answer it. So maybe I could channel her a little bit in saying that we actually, in some ways, I think she delineated this is the real Zoe, like we see her in Afghanistan. And again, there's no spoiler in the film. The film is called My
Mhm,
Dead Friend Zoe.
of course.
That she is very much alive in Afghanistan, and then when she's back home, where in Portland, Oregon, she's not. What Zoe is, though, I'll leave that up to the audience. Is she a ghost? Is she a memory? Is she a manifestation? And so I think the way that we thought about it, or the way that I thought about it, actually was, and I think some of my favorite filmmakers is like you create circumstances, but then let other people fill them in and have their own interpretations of it. And so I don't really want to tell anybody what Zoe is or isn't, but I will say this. Zoe is somebody a friend that Merritt lost and loved very much. I think we've all lost somebody that was close to us. And if I asked you to think of that person that you lost right now, and what they might say in this situation right here, you probably could answer. You probably know exactly what they'd
Mhm.
say or what they do. And that's what Zoe was. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like she, in a way, like empowers Merritt's thoughts by not exactly, but almost making them external the way she sees it. Another sort of empowering moment in the film is she talks early on Merritt about she tells a story about how seeing her grandfather as a veteran when she was a young child stand
Yeah.
up made him seem so tall, and then at that scene at the park with the branches songs, she gets to stand up next to him and feel tall together with him. Can you talk more about what inspired that moment?
Thank you. Also, man, thank you for these questions. That's my favorite scene of the film, I think, just because it's so meaningful to me. Like I said, this film is true. So I joined the military. A month before 9/11, so not great timing for me, but I joined because of my grandfather in a big way. And when I was a young guy in Wisconsin, we would go up north and this small little town where my grandparents were. And every 4th of July, they would play the fight songs for the different branches. And my grandpa would stand, and he seemed like he was 100 feet tall to me. And yeah, I wanted to be like him, like that. And so creating that, adding that into the film was just it was really meaningful and powerful for me. And it's just very, I guess I would just say it's cool. It's cool that the world gets to feel what that feels like too. It's almost like a very private memory that you have of your own family, but then just to get to share that with other people and they can totally get it. Um, and yeah, I also I really set out to make a purple film. It's not red, it's not blue, it's not political. We don't get into that. We
Yeah.
don't really talk about, it's not American exceptionalism. I understand you're Canadian, right? So, we did that just for you. America's not the best. It's just one of the many
I'm
countries
American,
out there.
actually. I'm
Are
just
you? Oh, okay.
here with Canadian friends in First Reviews.
Oh, okay, great. But anyway, I mean, look, I'm basically Canadian because I'm from Wisconsin, but yeah, the film is not about American exceptionalism. It's not about necessarily like the morals or the ethics of being a soldier, or it's about the people that inhabit those roles and those uniforms and what happens afterwards. And so I think that's another
Mhm.
way that I just wanted to weave in something that all of us who have served feel a little bit of tug in your heart when you play those songs. And yeah, it's because it's, you know what, it's not about Iraq or Afghanistan or Vietnam or Normandy or Japan. It's not about that really. We don't really get a say. Not real. We definitively don't get a say in what the country does. But it sounds so cliche, but you are there for the man and woman to your left and to your right, and
Yes.
there's something extra special about that, and that's what that scene kind of epitomized.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful scene when you understand the foreshadowing and how much it means to Mara, and Sonequa
Yeah.
conveys that so beautifully. And I love the music as well in that shot. I want to ask, as a filmmaker, there's a lot of funny scenes in this film, whether it's between Natalie and Sonequa or Sonequa and Utkarsh.
Yes,
How
thank you.
many takes do you like to go for? Do you like to do, many improvise with those sort of scenes with some comedic banter? Or do you like to more shoot at least a few with what's on the page first?
Another great question. Yeah, I like to start with what's on the page, but I am no Aaron Sorkin, even though I would love to be at his level. I'm not precious about the words. I mean, in this case, I had that luxury because, I wrote this script and I wrote this script, it took me 2 years. The final draft that we shot, I co-wrote with a woman named AJ Bermudez, and she's incredible. So much of what's great about this film is directly thanks to AJ and having her perspective as an amazing writer, also as a woman. But I'm not precious about the words. I really, and like I think you'll hear Sonequa and Natalie, everybody talk about it, where I'm just like, I don't know, like, yeah, say that, say something else. I don't know, like I think that's what's fun. It's we're freaking playing make believe, and I do know for funny people, it's always responsible to say, hey, improvise, just come up with something great. Like I do believe in the power of the written word, and dialogue has a musicality to it. Um, but we would usually do like one or two takes just so we at least have it covered based on what we've written in the script. And then after that, absolutely, I will say, let's improvise. And then creating the circumstances where people feel comfortable to do that, that's a whole separate thing too. So yeah, but I don't like to keep going. I like to a couple takes and I'm good. I mean, this film, there's a couple times we would do two takes and we were moving on. Some of that was like a result of our budget and our timeline. We
Hmm.
also shot this, we finished like 2 minutes prior to the SAG strike going into effect.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were mid-production and then word came down. It's like there's going to be a strike in 2.5 weeks. And so we had to go from shooting 5-day weeks to being like crap, rejigger everything. And we went into 6-day weeks, which is a lot, man. Monday through Saturday, long days. And so I just, I think it helps that I was in the military. I just went into staff sergeant mode and we're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
My AD, Carly Sturgeon, is incredible. And some actors, Utkarsh, he's like in and out, man. He's like one take, he's like that felt, and they're all great, and and other people want to keep exploring. So, um, I just love actors. I love actors. I love working with them. I like to follow their lead in in each scene. So, yeah.
Speaking of which, can you talk more about the actors in the film with veteran experience and how they shaped the film and its production?
Totally. Yeah, the 90% of the cast in this film are real veterans. I mean, who gets to say that ever? And that includes this up and comer named Morgan Freeman, who's also who is a veteran. He's an Air Force veteran. So I made a short film on the way to making this feature film. It was my proof of concept that I made, like to prove that I could do it, and to prove the tone, and to prove all the things. And I cast my friends, people that I know here in LA who are veterans, who are also amazing actors, or the other way around. They're amazing actors who happen to be veterans. And it was a fun day when I got to call them and say, so thank you for again for being in the short. This is maybe a year later. We're making the feature. You're in it. You don't have to audition. You're going to be flown up to Portland to shoot, and you're going to be playing opposite this guy named Morgan Freeman. And so that was pretty cool. But then we also use that veterans group as like a training, I don't know, like just for Sonequa and Natalie, they got to hang around all of these people and get to know them and, absorb some of their real experiences. It was just made it really special. Yeah.
Last but not least, I want to mention that without spoiling anything, the movie ends with a shocking statistic and a really heartbreaking but powerful call to action. As I mentioned at the beginning, you said that you made this film to save lives, to foster empathy between veterans, non veterans, veterans, and other veterans. Can you talk about, since the film has come out, some of the most meaningful reception you've gotten that's made this whole journey feel even more worth it?
Man, your questions are some of the best I've had this whole press journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're right. We did set out to do something that not only was entertaining but was like impactful. And so like this is an impact film. And if people don't know what that is, I mean, it means that you entertain people and then you give them a place to take action. And we have done that in this film. In the end credits, you can literally do a thing that will help veterans, that will help people with their mental health journey. And so, yes, you will see that in the end credits. I'm very proud of that. And I have received countless emails and notes from veterans and non-veterans who have shared some very personal things about what the film meant to them, about who it reminded them of, about how they were laughing through tears, which is to me is really the best. And then in particular, like we've screened this film now. We've had an amazing film festival run for almost a year. We started by winning South by Southwest, which was such a dream come true, and then, internationally and all over the US. And I mean, maybe this is the same for a lot of filmmakers, but like I get mobbed after each screening. There's people just standing in line wanting to talk about how meaningful it was to them and how, just I have these like one of the one anecdote I will say though is like I'm I'm a man that wrote a film but cast myself as a woman, and then here we are, and there's this guy who's like this huge dude, this big marine looking dude, and comes down, and I'm thinking like I don't know if he's gonna hate the film or be upset about it. Like he almost had the look of someone that seemed like he wouldn't be happy about me doing a gender reversal, and it was totally the opposite of what I thought. He came up, he's like, dude, I'm Merit. I am Merit, she was me. And I just like that's just so cool. So it's like the film, it really transcends so many things, and like the amount of support that or just the reaction that we've had. This sounds so braggy. I'm so sorry, but like it's like the number three
Right.
highest rated film in the country. We're 95% Rotten Tomatoes on your
Yeah.
audiences and critics. So it's like people really, really responded to the film, and like that more than anything else feels like mission accomplished. And if just one person sees this film and decides that they do want to talk about it, whatever it means to them, but they do want to talk about it, then I think that we will have succeeded. That feels great.
I think everything you shared right now speaks to the power of empathy and how
Yeah.
many barriers or Hollywood stereotypes that we'd seen in past films like this you were able to break. Genuinely, to those watching, My Dead Friend Zoe is a wonderful movie. It's funny, it's tear jerking, it's a one of a kind movie, and I think it'll continue to make an impact for those who haven't yet discovered it but are about to. And thank you so much for joining me today and answering these questions. It's been a real pleasure and a privilege to talk to you today.
Thank you, Gal. You're the man, dude. Thank you so much. This is
Thank
this
you
is
so
such a
much as
pleasure.
well.
Yeah.
Have a great one.
Thank you.